Angry Joe, and I'm here with the lead PvP designer once again. If you guys will recognize, we had an interview before, and I think that it went well. It's just one of the things that people picked out or pointed at is I said, what is the most unique thing about your game? And then the blocking thing came out. Yo, you can block.
And everybody can block. So that's pretty innovative in terms of MMO space, but Elder Scrolls
block is not innovative though. Right, so you got a lot of crap for that, but I did get hands-on. You're actually allowing us to play the game, which was good. It's different from some of you out there may have seen got a negative reaction from the closed beta that leaked. I was one of those people that saw that video and it didn't look good. It looked kind of boring and stuff. Was that an earlier build? Is that what people are playing now?
No, actually, the build that people are playing in beta now is a little bit more advanced than what's being played here. The UI has been cleaned up a lot more. There's been some more graphics options added in terms of character customization, and the combat has changed a little bit more too. So the build that was in that beta is different from the build that's in this beta currently.
And this one, as far going back to the blocking aspect, the combat does feel dynamic. It almost doesn't even feel like an MMO. It feels like an action adventure, or like an RPG, a traditional Elder Scrolls experience. So I was happy to see that. Now, personally, I don't like the fact that you can kind of like walk through enemies. So it didn't really feel as though I was connecting with the hits. Are you guys going to address that at all?
Yeah, the biggest part about at least player and NPC collision is you can't have it in an MMO, especially in a PvP MMO, because people can just block locations just by standing there.
Oh, that's right, assholes! Like you can't even advance a quest because they put their characters right in front,
blocking you. And with the monsters, and actually with player reactions in PvP, back at the build in the studio, when you get hit, the monsters actually glance left and right. You see them kind of get hit in the direction that you swing now. So the hit reactions back at the studio are much better, and as opposed to a build that you're seeing here. It actually does feel a lot more like you're making contact when you hit them. The screen shakes a little bit. It's a lot better.
Okay, and so let's talk a little bit about the improvements to the game. For example, skill trees. Can you talk a little bit about what your character has in terms of leveling up and what can you do?
Every time you level up, you can spend a point in health, magic, and stamina. Very Elder Scrollsy. Then, of course, you get the ability to spend in your class line where you can get actives or passives. The actives will actually, you can morph them later on where they actually gain experience. So while Mage's Fury is a sorcerer ability, it does damage and then does a little bit of damage later. You can make that window shorter, or you can make it hit harder and do AE. So even the abilities themselves can change. But you can also have any class can wear any armor, any class can use any weapon. So all the combinations you get out there, especially in PvP, is just awesome.
So it's good to hear that any class can use any armor, so you can be of a different race type and use a different race's armor and have all the variations there. What's the only requirement for that? Are there any requirements at all? You just pick it up and loot it and you're good to go?
If you loot it, you can wear it. If you loot it, you can use it. Essentially is all there is to it.
Well, that sounds good. I mean, are there good variations on the armor?
Yeah.
How many armors are in the game? We're talking a bunch because that's making your characters look badass is the whole thing. So there is a lot of variation.
There's the racial variation, but then we also have other things like onyx armor, glass armors, things that you've experienced in the prior Elder Scrolls games, like in Oblivion and Skyrim and back to Morrowind. Like that armor style, there's tons of armor variations out there.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the social experience of the game. How big are parties and guilds, and what will you be doing with friends in the game?
The party size is 4, and we have obviously regular instances that you can go into with your buddies to play through a story-driven instance. There are public dungeons you can go to, which kind of harken back to the old school MMO days, where if you went into a dungeon by yourself, you were pretty much getting your ass kicked. But
that's where the bigger bosses lie?
That's where some of the tougher bosses are for sure. We don't go, really huge, like gigantic, but we do have monsters that you'll be familiar with from like Skyrim, the giants, mammoths. We have some new Daedra out there as well. There's a Titan who looks ridiculously huge. He's in the trailer that is actually up on the screen right now, actually. But the monsters are out there for you to go at with your buddies. As far as guilds go, you can be in a guild that has cross-alliance players. Obviously, we need to worry about communication within Cyrodiil, which is the PvP area. But, if you want to play an Aldmeri character and I want to play a Daggerfall character, we can be in the same guild because we don't want to block that social experience.
Okay, that's cool. Now, will we have a problem running around the world and it's like your crew versus my crew? I see you in the open wall, I'm going to kill you?
Well, there's no open world killing in your own space. Like if you're a Daggerfall player in your Daggerfall territory, you're safe. When you go into Cyrodiil, which is my area, that's where the PvP kicks in. You can't kill another Daggerfall player if you're a Daggerfall player, but you can kill Aldmeri or Ebonheart guys. That's what it's all about, a three-sided war.
Okay, and initially my interest level was low, but it rised when you guys said, we're going to go ahead and listen to the players, listen to the feedback, and put in a first-person mode. Can you talk a little bit about why you did that and you know, what it's all about?
Yeah, I mean, it's Elder Scrolls Online, and one of the big things about an Elder Scrolls game is seeing first-person combat with your hands, with your weapons. You know, originally we did say it was third-person, and we were like, well, we're doing that mainly with PvP in mind, because, you know, you really want to play in third-person and see who's behind you.
Oh, I'm sure people are still going to play it in third person.
They will, yeah.
For, you know, PvP, but, you know, for the single-player experience.
If you want to play first-person, you can play first-person in PvP, too, if you want. It was kind of like the players really want it. It is Elder Scrolls. We are Elder Scrolls Online, so let's give it to them. And that's the great thing about being a service after the game is shipped. We're still going to listen to players and give them what they want.
I hope that continues. I hope it continues. Now, as far as the storyline in Quest, can you tell about how long is the storyline? Is this going to be longer than Skyrim's storyline? Do you have a number hour on that?
Yeah, in your own territory, within like your own alliance, the gameplay is about 120 to 200 hours. Now, that includes the storyline for the alliance you're in, your personal story, which is sort of like regaining your soul from Molag Bal, and then there's all the side stories out there, which is basically this town needs help, or you came across somebody who needs to get a sword back from a monster who kicked his ass at the beach. Like, there's all kinds of stories like that, but after you hit 50 in your alliance, you can then go into the Aldmeri territory if you're a Daggerfall player. You won't be able to fight Aldmeri players, but you'll run into other Daggerfall players in that territory and experience that content as well, and then Ebonheart, as well as the limitless stuff in PvP in Cyrodiil.
The side quest. So there's also, you know, are you including the dynamic missions? Because you guys said we're going to try to do the traditional Elder Scrolls experience where you're walking to one quest, but you see something cool, then you get over there. Is that included?
That's with that whole 120 to 200 hours. Like, if you experience all of it, like, you're going to be in through one territory alone, through one alliance. It's like 200 some hours. We had actually one of our testers back at the studio. They played one alliance from 1 to 50, and I think she clocked in at about 220 hours.
Wow.
So it's
pretty good. That's substantial. I'm liking that. Now, but are you guys gonna have fun with it? Because a lot of the quests that made me go wow moments was when a talking dog came up to me, or like when the Daedric princes invade and they kind of warp your mind, or you fall into a painting and stuff like that. Are you guys keeping that in this game? Are you gonna make stuff interesting and not just 5-10 rats or whatever?
Yeah. The Elder Scrolls IP and the lore is very much alive and well in this game. One of the dungeons you can go to in here is Badman's Hollow. And Badman is actually an old god who kind of messes with your head a little bit. So that lore is intact. We have all the towns. Like if you played Oblivion, Coral, Cheydinhal, Bruma. There's actually in the south, Cropsford, which was basically a really small town in Oblivion. Well, this is 700 some years in the past, so we expanded it, made it larger. But the NPCs are there. There's actually an NPC in Coral who says, 500, 700 years from now, my family's still going to be here, and that guy is actually in Oblivion. So we're very aware of Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind lore, even going back to Daggerfall.
Yeah, and because this is set in a different time period, I think some people, well, at least I've been getting a lot of fan questions. Will there be dragons? Can I still fight dragons?
The dragons in our time frame are sleeping. They're not around.
Underground, maybe wake them up.
But like I said, we do have a very large Daedric Titan. He looks basically like a gargoyle that went crazy. Very big.
Now, another concern for people is, they're screwing up the lore because you're putting all these races together. What do you say to those particular people who have those types of concerns?
The lore is actually pretty intact. We have a guy back at the office, Lawrence. He's been in a couple of videos online. He vets everything with Bethesda. We go back and forth about everything we put in the game. Like the Wabbajack, can we put the Wabbajack in? They said, sure, you can. So all the stuff that we put in is verified, that it is lore appropriate, it is correct. And with the 3 alliances, that was one of those things where people asked about it. I said, well, why would Daggerfall team up? Why would Ebonheart team up? The story with Imperial City getting raided essentially by Molag Bal, all the Imperials have withdrawn. Like, they've left Cyrodiil kind of to its druthers, which is why the 3 alliances have kind of risen up and said, okay, we need to land grab, we need to get Imperial City. So all that stuff makes sense when you're playing through the lore, playing through the city. You get the storylines of why Daggerfall is now a group together, why Ebonheart is gilded together, and why Aldmeri has kind of banded together.
Okay, cool. Now, I think the two things that made me more interested in the game was the first-person mode, which we already talked about, and the next was the 500 versus 500 versus 500 battles. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Will there be siege weapons? Will we be sieging castles and running into battle, and everybody using headsets and stuff to communicate?
You know, we're not gonna have voiceover in the game.
Most people, most people all use the
Yeah.
off-site services.
In the video, actually, we had that video from last year, which we brought back again, which is 200 people flooding over a wall. That was actually around 220 of us back at the studio doing a PvP fight last year. That was last year, so obviously we're still pressing that envelope, trying to get more and more on the screen.
Finding it difficult because, you know, if we're talking 500 versus 500 versus 500.
Yeah. Well, the 500 versus 500 versus 500, that's a benchmark of the minimum we want to go for in Cyrodiil as a whole. On your screen at one time, we want to have 200 running smoothly at a good frame rate. We won't want to have to look down.
It's not 500, it's 200?
It's 200 on your screen at once, but in Cyrodiil, I want thousands of players. That's where that 500, 500, 500 line comes from. We're still pressing that to see how many people we can actually fit in Cyrodiil, because the space in the world you're playing today, Glenumbra, is one zone. It's pretty big. It takes, you know, a little bit of time to travel from the south to the end, like 5-10 minutes. Cyrodiil is 9 times the size of that, so it's very big. Each alliance has several keeps that are natively theirs, and in that keep battle that's on the video, that's just one keep. We want that occurring everywhere in Cyrodiil.
Now, yeah, so it's obviously massive. So let me talk real quick about fast travel, mounts, maybe even pets. Can you address those?
Pets won't be in there, but we will have mounts. Mounts you'll be able to advance. We're not giving too many details about that, but there's more than just I have a horse.
More than just a horse.
Mm-hmm. And the other one was, again, it was mounts, pets.
Fast travel?
Fast travel. Way shrines exist in the world, similar to how you saw them in Skyrim. Way shrines actually are our travel network. If you're at a way shrine and you discovered another one, you can travel from way shrine to way shrine for free. If you're out in the world away from a way shrine, you can actually click on it on the map and you'll be able to recall to it for a small fee. A gold fee.
A gold fee, okay, and that's not like real money. That's
in-game gold.
Okay,
yeah.
And so that leads into my next question. What everybody wants to know is, have you decided on a model, a pay model? Is this going to be a free-to-play game? Is it going to be, paying monthly? You guys are on consoles now, right?
Yes,
so you'd buy the game. Would you continue to pay on Xbox and PS?
That's something we're still working out internally. Once we have all the details of subscription model, pricing, we would definitely will release that out there.
I'm telling you, you need to make this thing free to play. That would make a lot of, people like, yeah, exactly. I think that it would be really nice. So when is it coming out? When can we look forward to maybe an open beta or the actual game release?
We're in closed beta now. We're doing the release actually in spring 2014. We were a 2013 release. We actually pushed off to 2014 in the spring because all the beta feedback we've been getting, all the features that we actually as a studio
it was not good.
We want more things in the game that make it Elder Scrolls, like the hands, for example. Getting the UI to feel minimalist, like running around, you just look in the game and that's it. Like these are all things we talked about last year at E3, but now that you actually can see, we are pushing to make it as much as the next Elder Scrolls game as any game out there. Like, we are Elder Scrolls Online. And last year when we said it, people, like you said, kind of doubted us, but now you see it. Like,
well, yeah, no, they haven't yet played it. I mean, you need to get it in their hands. So when is that open beta?
The open beta, we're still working on the date for that too. I know. We're in close right now, but that's actually getting ready to ramp up soon too. We've had people playing through Glenumbra where you are now. We've actually started, I think it's coming up this weekend or the next weekend, where we're going to have people playing through Ebonheart. Okay. So we are in closed beta now with lots of people playing it. I can't disclose how many, but we definitely are in beta as we speak.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to address all of our concerns, questions. Yes, it's good to see you again, and I guess we'll see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show.
A new dawn is upon us. Never have our choices weighed more heavily. To stand alone, or to fight side by side. against the encroaching forces of oblivion.